Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well, hope your Ramadan is going fantastic. So I just want to talk to you today about mercy and how feminists, they promote no mercy towards children. And I want to encourage you that if you fear pregnancy, I hope to encourage you to have mercy towards the little one. And one way in which you can do this is making sure that you are not sleeping with people who you don't intend to stay with. And this is kind of hard to talk to in terms of American women because we are heavily brainwashed from a very young age to have massive body counts, and liberals, especially the secular liberal atheists and the occultists, they push this type of reckless, dangerous behavior that causes a lot of mental trauma on women because eventually they run out and get into a situation with a very creepy person, or they have to do something so humiliating that they chose and consented to do, but it came back later and made them regret what they did. And then, fortunately, they start using more drugs, drinking, and then end up not using protection because the guy says he's not going to do something with her if she doesn't want it, and she just caves in anyways, and then before you know it, she's pregnant. And so, to them, executing the little one is a form of mercy. Rather, I would say that the true mercy is keeping the child and fixing your life. And that what's so dangerous about feminism is that it promotes no mercy. And it trivializes the ending of a heartbeat, a separate soul. It encourages women to laugh, to giggle, to celebrate, to party, to glorify, to champion, to shout about how they have committed infanticide, genocide, and the culling of the most innocent form of life on the earth, which is a baby. Whether it's a puppy, a kitty, a little tiny plant. When something is small, you feel mercy towards it because it's helpless. A human baby is very much the same. And your womb is this nursery, it's this little garden of Eden inside of your body. And feminists promote women to shut off mercy in their heart so that they can party, drink, chase money, career, and not let a child make them change their habits of life. But what I hope to encourage you is, let's say, look at me as your sister, who knows, but in a positive way, just take some of my counsel and think about how you can have mercy on the little ones, and that a child is not the end of the world, and that if you just simply resist Shaitan, you resist the devil who's tempting you to sleep with these loser guys. I don't just mean loser as in money. What I mean is that they're just gonna leave you after, and maybe you deserve to be left, but you should fix that. But still, if you just resist, this is also a form of mercy towards any potential children that might have to be executed because of your reckless decision to sleep with a person who would abandon you like a bag of dirty laundry. And this type of personality trait that comes from feminism that lacks mercy, lacks humbleness, kindness, lacks so many of the wonderful traits that proper mothers have towards the most innocent beings on this planet, which is children. This lack of mercy is gonna shape a very, very strange world. And throughout history, we've seen many women not practice mercy. But today, I argue the leftists promote it wherever they hold sway. They have you hostage in the classroom, your teacher's feminist, and the majority of the students are. Well, now you're kind of cornered. I've had back and forth with teachers who promoted, late term abortion. And I was the only one in the class who spoke against it. It was like 6 years ago. I'm never going to forget it. Because it just shocks you sometimes how cold some of these liberal, Democrat, leftist, atheist feminists are. Where you're like, wow, they don't have mercy. And a world without mercy is a pretty brutal world. And so, if you keep the little baby, you did a form of mercy. If you suffer for the baby, you did a form of mercy. See, the feminist liberals in the university have taught you that your college is worth more than the life of your child. To the liberals, everything is worth more than the life of your child. They see a child as a burden. They see it as a stone in your back as you're trying to swim. They don't have the same value for human life as someone who's religiously minded and understands Judgment Day. Because for a secular liberal feminist atheist, they don't believe in the soul. So to them, when they call a little innocent baby a parasite, they mean it. They really do. Yet, they say they're the champions of women's rights. To them, freedom means to execute cute, innocent little babies, to see their little hands, their little feet in a bucket in the abortion clinic, in pieces, dismembered, a little tiny brain smushed because of the clamp that they use during abortion. They see that as good. They see that as honorable. They see that as the epitome of female power. To them, power is hurting and minimizing the death of another human. And that, my friends, is how you know we have to talk more about mercy. We have to talk more about sometimes it's not all about you, and you'll have to let go of your fancy clothes. You might have to stay with someone you don't like, that you don't even love, but they pay the bills, they buy the food. It's enough to get along to get along. They may not be Prince Charming, but it's enough to deal with them and raise the child in the way the child deserves. That is a mercy. To choose life is harder today than to choose abortion, especially when some is taxpayer funded, when it's cheap. To have a baby costs more money than to execute the baby. That is intentional. And the lab coats, all they care about is money. They will pull out as many baby parts as possible, wash the baby's blood off of their hands, take off their dirty lab coat, drive home with nothing, listening to music, go home to their families and spend that money. To them, the life of the child is nothing. They don't have mercy. They want money. Money is their God. Money rules them. And I would argue that some of the occultists who work in that field, they enjoy it. They like the power. I remember I heard one interview, I don't know where I'll find it. Maybe YouTube removed it. There was a confession of one abortionist who said she did feel powerful having life and death in her hands. I think it was the film The Silent Scream. Very powerful. Very powerful. Because of the way it got some abortionists to admit that. It would be quite interesting to take a feminist who had 6 abortions and then to take an abortionist who's done 1,000 abortions. sit them in the same room, have a really deeply spiritual person in the room, and pick their mind and see what kind of demons you would encounter. Now, atheists adore the occultists. They never speak against them, even though they do the most depraved things. And they call everything that does get exposed conspiracy, which is really interesting. They mock us Muslims for not drinking alcohol. They mock us Muslims for not worshipping celebrities and music. They mock us for praying 5 times a day. They mock us for fasting and testing our discipline during the month of Ramadan. But never will you see an atheist, I have yet to see it, go after an occultist. What they do to research it, to dig into it, to mock it, you don't see it. Because the atheist serves Shaitan. I know people will joke about that. But it is really true when you look at it. Because they mock what is good, what is decent, what is harder, what is more restrained, what is more fortified, and say nothing of the subversive aims within society. So it's not surprising that you see atheists say that abortion is this glorious, beautiful action. They love standing on the skulls of tiny little babies, tiny little hearts that stop pumping, your little tiny cute hands that can fit in the palm of yours, little tiny hands. They feel nothing. If they saw a corpse of a baby on the ground that fell out of the bag of the abortionist, they wouldn't feel nothing. They'd probably look you in the eye and say, that's power. That's good. Yes, queen. But to us women who are better, us women who now have come to see the brutality, the nastiness, the cruelty of that type of philosophy, we can see clearly what type of women it's manifesting in this world. And you have to protect your sons. That's why a mother is so important. Fathers as well. But to say to your son, if you find out she's had 2 abortions, dump her like a box of rocks. And this is where I think it's a good point that a lot of people have been saying. If a woman's had 2 or 3 abortions, the virgin is better. This is really true. A lot of women, we get jealous of the virgins, but obviously she's far superior than a woman who's had an abortion. Far superior, and we can never let the feminists brainwash our sons, our brothers, cousins into being led astray and becoming into a very risky relationship with such a dark woman. Such a dark woman who was given the gift of fertility, and she chose to mock Allah's gift and to instead add to the coffers of the death cult. So again, have mercy and stay away from feminists, stay away from liberals, stay away from atheists. They seem, because of their smug, arrogant attitude, like they have power. You feel like when you're around them, like they got it all figured out. They're so confident. You know, look at them drinking wine in their stupid turtlenecks, and they just seem so boastful. They seem so haughty. Maybe they got it figured out. Rather, look to the woman who said, you know what? I chose mercy. It was a hard path. That is the woman of honor, respect, dignity, fortitude, steadfastness, patience. All the women who didn't abort their children are heroes. And it's honorable to take the difficult path. You're amazing if you do that. You won't get a standing ovation. Feminists, they cheer each other when they have abortions. All over Twitter, TikTok, they love it. Imagine if you could see what their soul looks like without all that makeup. You'd probably see a hideous monster covered in pus-filled, putrid infections. You'd probably see like just oozing pus out of their face. You'd probably see the most scariest, horrific demon you've ever laid your eyes on. But the beauty that they temporarily have makes the young women think, well, there must be some power into executing your own baby. So let me act like them. Don't do it, young bucks. They censor so you don't get to hear other people's opinions. They only win through censorship. They want you to feel alone. They want you to be confused. They know their ideas can't stand up on their own. So instead they choose to silence and rip out the tongues of everyone who speaks against their ideology and points out its flaws, its negative results. To them, they can't acknowledge it. They have to always call you a misogynist, misandry. They just make up word after word after word until you get tired of hearing them and you eventually leave. So just please, don't let their anger and their hatred that they have for the innocent human babies make you lose mercy. Mercy is a very virtuous trait. If you don't have mercy towards a baby, how can you expect to get mercy from anyone? Why do you expect that your life should be roses and candy and smooth sailing after you didn't show mercy to an innocent little baby? A baby who heard your heartbeat. A baby who literally depended on you for everything. A baby that, if born, would have hugged you night and day. Would have cried every time you left the room. Would have missed you, adored you. You chose to execute it because the liberal feminists told you to. They love it. But you shouldn't love them. The less feminist you have as your friend, the better your psychology you will be, and the closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala I believe you will be. If you get around people who worship death, who love death, who love hurting children, who hate motherhood, who say men can be women and women can be men, and who worship plastic surgery, drugs, money, corporate status, they're worse than just living in the dunya. Actually, they're just paving the way to hellfire. So avoid them, young ones, and have mercy. Think about mercy tonight, wherever you are, and ask yourself, how do I become merciful? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. How do you practice mercy in your own life? And how you can do that is don't sleep with bad men, get married, stay married, do the best you can. Don't execute the little baby, get sober. If you stop hanging around with liberal atheists who love drugs and alcohol, then you'll be able to be more sober more often. And if you have religious friends who are drinking, cut them off as well, because they're hypocrites. And what do you need a hypocrite for? Do your best. Do your best. And be careful of the hijabi feminists. Be very, very careful. Because they're some of the most dangerous that I've come to learn about. Because they twist the deen, they lie about the deen, and they make up lies against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They want to be with the feminists of the atheist wing. They care more about that than sticking to the Quran and Sunnah. They're revisionists. They do bid'ah, innovation. Be careful, fam. Have mercy.